but actually, as soon as my little boy came along, that kind of reaffirmed that I'd made the right decision. And I had some amazing clients at the time that were really supportive of me working around my kids. And it's just kind of grown from strength to strength. So yeah, it's keeping me busy, being a mum of two, a wife, the household, the business, keeping me on my toes.
Perfect. And you know what? I would say that it's not easy because you don't hear, and maybe a lot of people do, but you definitely don't hear a lot of people saying that, you know what? Today's the day that I need to do something for myself. I'm going to give up my corporate job. I'm going to give up the desk job. I'm going to give up being a manager, an executive, whatever the
Yeah.
case is, right? And they're going to say that, you know what? I need to do something for me because I think, and I was the same way, and I'll let you answer. I think as we get older, we start to appreciate and say that, you know what? I there's more to my life than what I'm currently doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can make a bigger difference than I am because I think growing up, I went to school and I learned, and then in my 20s, I was like, this is the job I want. You know, the desk job, the dress pants, the dress shirt, and everything.
Yeah.
Then once you achieve it, you're like, is this it? Am I going to be here for the next 30 to 40 years? And then you realize, okay, I went to school and I did all this, maybe because I was told to do this, but I have this passion over here. Was that your state of mind when you decided, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to do something else?
Yeah, to a degree, it was. I think you get very comfortable when you're in a desk job or when you're in a 9 to 5. You know, you've got that under normal circumstances, you've got that security of knowing you've got that money coming in the bank at the end of every month. And as much as I enjoyed the job and I loved the people I worked with and I loved the clients that I worked with, I was getting to the end of the day and switching off, and that was that. Like it was a job. I was doing it for somebody else. There was no real satisfaction there for me. And when I fell pregnant, I'd never been very maternal anyway. Like I'd never seen kids in my future when I was growing up. Um, so when I met my husband, my entire life perspective changed anyway, because all of a sudden, all I wanted to do was be a stay-at-home mum. But the bills have still got to be paid, right?
Absolutely. Someone has to
So,
pay them, right?
yeah. So it was finding something that enabled me to use the skills that I'd learned over all those years, that I enjoyed doing, that I was passionate about doing, but that also meant that I could be that stay-at-home mum that I wanted to be. And the more I looked into the whole world of virtual assistants, the more I realized that it just fit in perfectly to what I wanted. And it meant that, you know, if I want to take the kids out for the day, I can. If I need to take them to the dentist or the doctors or whatever, you know, I don't have to get permission from somebody else to do it. I don't have to feel like I'm letting anybody down because I work the hours that I want to work. And that was really important to me. I needed to be there for my kids, and I needed to, the business is kind of for me, but it's also very much for them, in that I want to build a legacy for them. I want to know that once they hit their teens, early 20s, they're moving out, you know, I want to be able to help get the deposit for their first house or buy their first car or whatever it might be, without having to worry about, if I do that, am I going to be able to put food on the table for the next week? So
Yeah.
it really was kind of finding that balance between finding something for me and something for them and for their future.
And that's beautiful the way you said it because I think legacy is important, right? I don't have children myself, but there's a legacy that I want to leave. You have children now, and then there's a legacy you want to leave, right? You want to leave something for them. And I'm a big fan, and I wish more people would focus on like generational wealth and generational assets, right?
Yeah.
Saying that, you know, Catherine has started this, she can pass it down to her children. They could, you know what, make it her business 2.0, pass it to their children 3.0, and then it's always
Yeah.
upgrading, always getting better. Um, do you think that there's some people that maybe they live their whole life without ever considering what they're going to leave behind after they've passed on?
Um, I think there are a lot of people that do. I think a lot of people live very much in the present, especially now with our current circumstances. You know, people can't see what's going to happen the next week, the next month, let alone after they've gone. And so I think a lot of people do fail to prepare for that. And I think there's a lot of responsibility on us to make sure that the next generation is even better than we've had it. You know, you always want more for your kids than you want for yourself. And I think that's really important, because I think that's the only way that society in general is going to keep moving forward, is if we're constantly thinking about what we're leaving behind.
Yeah, like I know when we initially started talking, you said initially that you're helping mothers,
Yes.
right? So how was that experience? Since we're talking about like wanting our children to be better, you now with two children, how was that experience saying that, you know what, now I'm a mother and I'm helping mothers? How was that?
Well, it was something I really felt really strongly about. And the reason I chose to work with mothers initially was because I felt that I could relate to them. You know, I had the same pain points that they had. I had the same struggles, the same thoughts going through my mind. And to be able to support another family, to give them better quality of life, was something that was really important to me, because, you know, do juggle a lot. Parents, you know, you're trying to do the best for your kids, but at the same time, you do have responsibilities that you have to live up to. And it can be emotionally really draining, because you constantly feel guilt. You know, whether you, if you're working in the business, you feel guilty that you're not spending time with your family. If you're spending time with your family, you feel guilty you're not serving your clients. So to be able to kind of take that pressure off people was something that I felt really strongly about. And so I spent the first sort of 2.5 years dedicated to finding mothers or fathers, but particularly mothers that were starting up their own business, and supporting them to find that balance, and being able to take away the stuff that didn't really need to be done by them specifically, to free up their time a little bit so they could spend time with their kids. As it happens over the last year, my perspective hasn't changed. I still feel very strongly about that, but I actually see that I can be of more value in a slightly different area. So I've now kind of changed the focus of the business, working more with medium-sized companies that have quite heavy sales admin. So a lot of like insurance companies or merchant services companies that require a lot of back and forth with a client before a contract can be confirmed. And there's a lot of administration involved in getting all of that set up. And I think it kind of takes me back to what I was doing in corporate a little bit more. So I think it's just more of a comfort zone thing. And I can really see the value and how I can help. And one of the clients I've been working with over the last year, who's done some phenomenal stuff over the last 12 months, considering the circumstances. And he's really kind of shown how invaluable having that admin support can be. And knowing that I can give it to him with ease, it just kind of gives me a little bit more satisfaction. And I've just kind of changed where the business is going. So although my passion is still to help families, the industry that I'm focusing on is slightly different now.
Do you find that there's a difference in how you approach it, or do you still have that maternal instinct when you're dealing with corporations now, even though you're not dealing with the mothers and the fathers of the
I
world?
think I still approach it in the same way, because I think the idea of it is still the same, in that the reason I'm there to support them is to give them a better work-life balance. Because so many people, especially when they're sort of one-man bands or small businesses, you know, they're working 12, 13-hour days, 7 days a week, just to keep their head above water and to keep the business moving forward. And it doesn't have to be that way. And they're missing out on living life because they're living in their business. And so I think I still approach it with the same mindset. Obviously, just the tasks and the advertising side of it is slightly different.
How do you how do you get someone to realize that they need that work-life balance? Like, let's say, for example, you to use me, right? Like, how would you help me to come to the realization that, you know what, I need to have a balance. I need to have more balanced life and
I
work.
think it's during that initial consultation. I mean, most people will approach me because, you know, they want to grow their business, so they need more hands on deck. And it's kind of during that initial conversation, we just talk about, you know, why did you start the business in the first place? What was the reason behind going into business? Was it because you wanted to work 13 hours a day? Or was it because you wanted the financial freedom to live your life and to travel and to spend time with your loved ones, or pursue your hobbies, or whatever it was? It kind of, you've got to take them back to the beginning and say, well, why aren't you doing that now? You know, why aren't you following your passion? Why aren't you following your dream? Because you don't have time, because you're working in your business. And with a lot of people, their business is their passion. You know, if they've started a business, it's because they're passionate about it. But that doesn't mean they want to be in it all day, every day. You know, there's a very big difference between working on your business and working in your business. And it's just helping them during that initial consultation to kind of realize that and say, do you know what? Yeah, I don't want to spend my day doing admin. I want to spend my day overseeing the business and seeing my passion grow. And so then that's where I step in and take over the admin and allow them to do that.
Is that something that you had to learn for yourself, considering that you're working such long hours in the corporate world and now you left that to do that? Did you have to learn that as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think any business can be successful with one person on their own. I think you have to have a team to support you. You have to have the right people in your life to support the decisions that you're making, as well as to keep you grounded and question you from time to time to make sure that you're not kind of going away with the fairies into some unknown territory. So yeah, I think kind of making people realize that they're not on their own is a big part of it, and sort of saying, you know, I'm here to help. I'm here to support you. Just like my partner did for me when I started the business, he took on a lot of extra responsibilities to allow me to pursue it, to get it to a point where I'm not working in my business 24/7 anymore. Um, and I have a team on board with me. I've got a team of 4 other people that help me with the day-to-day stuff, and I'd be lost without them. So I think kind of reiterating that experience with potential clients just helps them realize what they can have as well.
And how does it feel now to be able to kick up your feet and say, you know what, I get to relax?
It's amazing. It is amazing. To be honest, I only really give myself maybe 1 day a week that is just about me. I switch off. I don't do any client work. I don't work on the business. I just do stuff that I want to do, take the dog for a walk, enjoy the sunshine when it's out, you know, the little things in life that is easy to take for granted if you don't take the time to appreciate it. But yeah, just knowing that I can do that without having to answer to anybody is lovely.
Do you find a difference in your client base between, let's say parents, right? Do you find that your experience with mothers, do you find that the way you would interact with them is different than maybe those in the corporate world?
um, I don't think the way I interact with them is different. I think I'm very much me at all times. And if you don't like me, the chances are you're not going to be a client. Um, and I stay very true to myself. But I think their behaviors are very different. So I tend to find working with more corporate clients, you know, they have a very clear vision of where they want to go, the steps they're going to take to get there, what they want to achieve. So the briefs that I get are very much, this is what I want doing and this is how I want it doing, just get it done. Whereas with the mothers and the startups and the more family orientated people, they have a very clear end goal, but the steps of how to get there can be a bit fluffy, and it can be, you know, they tend to be a little bit less decisive and need a little bit more guidance and a little bit more hand holding, and a little bit more input on, okay, well, if this is what you want to achieve, why don't we try X, Y, and Z to get there? So yeah, their approach to business is very different, but my approach to them will still be the same.
And that brings me to my point that I think mentorship is big for a lot of people. I think sometimes, even myself included, that's one thing I want to take advantage of when I started to do this was to learn from others. Because I don't want to be in a position where I think that I know it all, where there's people in this industry 5 years, 10 years. You know, I couldn't, if I was becoming a parent, I could learn from you because you've been there and you've done that, right? It's not like there's a guide that we're born with, right? We come
Yeah.
out the womb and you know what? I have book A, book B, you know? It's more of let's learn from each other. And because one thing that I've learned along the way of this is that you learn so much from failing,
Mm-hmm.
right? When something goes wrong, that's the true test. It's like, okay, you know what? This went wrong. You either could ignore it and it gets worse, or you take it head on and say, how am I going to resolve this? Because when you own your own company, your own business, your own startup, whatever the case is, it's you. The corporate
Yeah.
world is easy. There's a mistake, you know, it rolls up and then it rolls down. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But when it's yours, it rolls to you and it stops there,
Yeah.
right? are these lessons that you've experienced and ultimately share with the people that you deal with now?
Um, I mean, yeah, I've made my fair few mistakes over the last few years, absolutely. From anything from the type of advertising I've done to the way I've interacted with potential clients, the way I've put myself across. It they are mistakes that we all make. We're all human, and it is a case of don't take it personally. Just look at the facts and say, okay, that piece of advertising didn't work. It's not because of me. It's because of something to do with the system or the process. So let's find where it went wrong and fix it. And I've taken a lot of guidance. The virtual assistant community in the UK is really strong. So I did sign up to the Professional Virtual Assistants Association. So I've got that support there from people that really set the industry standards. So if there is any question of how to deal with any situation, I've got people I can turn to sort of say, okay, well, what's the general rule? How do we deal with that? And it's very much a collaboration over competition type attitude between VAs. You know, we are all in the same business, but we all target different people. We all specialize in different areas. So it's really nice. Like there's a really strong online community of VAs. So there's always people that we can turn to sort of say, oh, I think I ballsed up. How do I fix it? Or I think I'm about to make a mistake. How can I stop this from happening? And so as a part of that, and as a part of kind of experiencing that kind of support, I've actually set up my own VA coaching program that I'm hoping to launch this year to help new people that are coming into the industry and kind of talk them through, okay, well, these are the things that you have to have. You know, you have to be registered with these associations, you have to have this kind of insurance, because I think there's a lot of technicalities that are required that people don't realize. You know, a lot of people think, I've got a laptop, I can be a VA. And there's so much more to it than that. So I'm hoping that I can use the experience and the mistakes that I've made to kind of support other VAs as they come into the industry to make sure that they are setting up for success and not tripping at the first hurdle.
Yeah, because as you probably have experienced, I will point out, the beginning is so key.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like we don't want we don't want a situation to happen and then someone's like, how do I deal with this? And then they becomes discouraged, and then self-doubt
Yeah.
is something that is so dangerous. How do you, as a person that has gone through this, that's helping others virtually and so on and so forth, how impactful do you feel self-doubt is?
Oh, it's massive. Absolutely massive. As soon as self-doubt takes hold, it can be the breaking point of a business. And I think that's where that strong network comes in, because if you are starting to doubt yourself, you know, I'm lucky in that I've got previous clients that I can reflect on the work that I've done for them and say, do you know what? Yeah, I did that. And they've written me some great testimonials. They really appreciated what I did. They saw the value in it. They saw the expertise in it. I can do it. I can do it. I've done it before. I can do it again. And, you know, we all have a wobble. Even after 3 years of being in business, I still have a wobble and think, oh, am I the right person to be offering this service? Or, you know, I see it on Facebook, someone needs certain services and I think, oh, I could do that, but should I really apply? There's so many other people saying that they can do it too. But you just kind of have to put yourself out there and kind of fight through it. Because at the end of the day, you know, I've got now 20 years experience doing this. Like, I know I can do this stuff, and it is just an emotional wobble. And it takes sometimes my husband to give me a kick up the bum and say, don't be ridiculous. You've been doing it for years. Of course you can do it. And a perfect example of that came up this week, actually. There was an opportunity to apply to be on the advisory board of the Professional Association for VAs. And I just thought, oh, have I been doing it long enough, you know, to apply for it? Should I apply for it? Yeah, it's a really big job and I'd be really responsible for, you know, overseeing things and supporting other people. Is it really for me? And my husband said, of course it is. You've been doing it for years in managerial roles and you've been running your VA business now for 3 years. Like, just apply. What's the worst that can happen? They say no and you carry on doing what you're doing, mate. It's not going to affect you, so just give it a go. And I think that's the way to look at it, is if you go for something and someone says no, what's the worst that's going to happen? You know, your whole world's not going to fall down around you, is it? It's, you just carry on, you pick yourself up and you carry on. And I think to kind of approach every situation with that mindset of what's the worst that can happen will just put you in positions that you probably never would have thought you'd be in, but the opportunities are huge.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like if once you, and I always tell people this, once you do something and if it fails and if you don't get it, the worst that happens is you're in the same situation you would have been if you didn't apply,
Yeah.
right? But imagine if you were to take that step, that leap, and you're successful. The possibilities is endless.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to someone else a couple of days ago regarding another interview, and I told them the fear of failure sometimes is so much more stronger than actually failing because you have what is my husband going to think? What is my wife going to think? What is my friends going to think? What is my inner circle going to think, right? And then you create the situation in your head that is so much bigger than it actually is, but it should just be, you know what? Let me try this. Because no one else really cares if you really think about it,
Yeah.
right? They don't really care, right? But in our minds as humans, we think everyone does care, right?
Yeah.
We think that, you know what, the 70-year-old down the street is watching us. We think, you know, the 5-year-old with the toys in the neighborhood is watching us. But in reality, no one's really watching. And unless we tell them, no one is even really paying attention. So we should just take the risk.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it doesn't work out, we pick ourselves up, dust off our shoulders, and we try again, but we know we've learned something. Have you ever
Yeah.
experienced one of those moments where you're like, this didn't go according to plan, but you know what? Next time, I'm going to do better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been lucky in a way in that I haven't had to do a huge amount of networking to get the business to where it is. I've had a lot of it through referrals and people approaching me. And so it was only really in the last 6 months I started doing the whole networking thing. And the first networking event that I went to was online. And the minute they said my name, that I was going to be presenting myself next, I had a massive panic attack and I logged off because I felt so overwhelmed and so underprepared. And I just thought, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I logged off. And so I went to my husband. I said, I freaked out. I panicked. I don't know what to do. And he said, just try again. It's not a big deal. Nobody knows. Nobody knows why you logged off. Nobody knew who you were. It's not a problem. You try again. So I booked into the next event and I did the next event, sailed through it absolutely fine. And the same with podcast interviews as well. I've only started really doing them in the last 3 or 4 months. And the first couple, I was really shaky. I was really nervous. And I just thought, oh, is this for me? How's it going to benefit me? Is it, are people going to think I'm a complete idiot? And I just thought, so what if they do? The ones that are meant to be in my life will be in my life, and the ones that aren't won't. And that's all that really matters. So yeah, you just got to keep putting yourself out there, and that little bit of fear is good. I think, to push through that little bit of fear it gives you a lot more satisfaction at the end of it.
Especially when you conquer it, right? Like when you're like, I beat it, it makes you feel so good. And you've had this strong support system. And I think that is also important because you have your spouse cheering you on, right? You want that group of people at the end of the finish line saying that, you know what, you got this, keep going, keep pushing through. It's like a race. I don't know if you ever watch like the Olympics or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Where you have your whole team cheering, jumping up and down, they're screaming your name, and you feel that you're running on empty, but because of their enthusiasm, their energy, it propels you further. How
Yeah.
important to you is your support system?
Oh, it's absolutely essential. Absolutely. I mean, my husband is my biggest cheerleader, and he has visions for my business so much bigger than I'd ever have. Like he sees us traveling internationally to massive speaking events, and I'm like, no, I'm all right, actually. I'm all right keeping it a little bit lower scale than that. So I kind of have to be the one to keep him grounded. But knowing that he sees that potential in me and in my ideas and in my business just gives me the confidence to keep pushing. And my kids, they don't know what's going on. They're only 3 and 2 years old. So, but knowing that my purpose is to do it for them, that in itself is enough to get me up every morning and keep pushing me out of my comfort zone, because I want to make it a success for them. So
That's good, and I love hearing that. It reminds me of a story when one of my friends, I spoke to him. He wished me Happy New Year, and he asked me about my podcast. I was like, yeah, you know, it's going well. I'm networking, and there's a lot of people. And I told him that last year I started a business name May 22nd, 2020. I did my first interview September of last year. So I told him from September to the end of 2020, I had recorded 40 podcasts interviews.
Wow.
And I've only uploaded today at 1 p.m. will be number 16. So I still have 24 more to upload. And I told him my goal for 2021 is to do 80.
Nice.
Right. So from when you and I started talking from January until February, I already have 40 booked. So I've already met my quota for last year. And then I gave him the joke. I was like, do you remember when you were kids? Because we've known each other a long time. I was like, do you remember when you were kids? And I said that when I get rich, I want to have a mansion big enough that we all can live there. We all have our separate rooms. He's like, yeah. He's like, that's my dream. And he started to laugh. Okay. He's like, you're gonna have a 52-bedroom mansion. I was like, why not? If I need 60, it will be 60. But that's how big you want it because you want the people around you to say that, you know, I remember you saying that you're gonna be this. Do you still have that dream? I was like, yeah, you know what? I have that dream and then some. Is that
Yeah.
like what your husband is doing for you, saying that, you know what, we're going to be talking all over the world, we're going to be meeting presidents, we're going to be kissing babies, we're going to be doing all those things, right? Is he like taking your dream and just amplifying it for you, and then you're like, you know what, I can do this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when I started, it was very much going to be just me. And then by the end of the first year, he was like, oh, you know, we need to turn it into an agency. You need to get a whole team on board so that you're not doing any of it. You're just the face of the business. And then by the end of the second year, he was like, yeah, we're going to be traveling the world and you're going to be a speaker and a coach and this, that, and the other. And, you know, at the time that he says it, I just think, yeah, okay, that's like way in the future, like maybe one day. And at the end of each year, I'm just that little bit closer to actually making it happen. And so, yeah, having him dream bigger than beyond my wildest dreams, it definitely helps to push me to push my goals further and to be less accepting of just getting by or, you know, just meeting that next target. I need to be smashing that next target and doubling that next target. And yeah, he's definitely my driving force in keeping that dream going.
Nice. What advice would you give someone who's starting out, right? Like, what do you tell them who's like, you know what, I want to take the first step? What do you think their first step should be and why?
I think their first step definitely needs to do that, to do their research. Like, don't go into the industry blind because there are so many pitfalls that can catch you out. And there are so many people out there that are prepared to take advantage. And you could end up spending a lot of money getting prepared, that you really don't need to be spending. So it is very much do your research and make sure 100% before you commit to it that this is the right direction for you and the right job for you. And then on top of that, it's don't expect to be successful on your own. Like whether you get a mentor or an accountability coach or a business coach or just someone that's been there already that you can look up to and throw ideas about with, I think that is kind of essential, is having somebody that's kind of been there before, even if it's not someone that you're paying for, even if it's just someone in a community online that can help support you. It is taking that next step with someone rather than just doing it on your own.
All right, I grabbed my dog there, but I agree with you. Absolutely, because you can you think you can do it all alone, but you definitely need at least one other person because no one has done anything by themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you, what's next for Katherine? What's next for you?
um the next 12 months for me will see the official release of my coaching course and my coaching program for new VAs in the industry. And I'm hoping to have that certified by the association so that it is one of the recommended coaching courses within the industry. Um, and to just grow the VA side of the business. Like I said before, I've got a team of 4 already on board. I hope to have that doubled by the end of the year. I've got some wonderful clients that are also looking to grow their business, which should in turn grow mine because our company is taking over the entire admin process of their business. So yeah, just to keep growing and keep getting bigger day by day.
What's an accomplishment that you're really proud of in regards to your business?
I think when I took on the first member of my team, I think once I realized that the contracts coming in were beyond my own capacity, that's when I really realized, like, yeah, this is going to go somewhere. Like, this is set for life now. This is what I want to do, and I can do it. And I think that was a really big achievement for me, was kind of that realization that I'm not just playing at it anymore. This is my business, and this is serious.
Did you think that you wouldn't be able to get this far? Like, I know we touched on self-doubt, right? Like, did that ever enter your mind, or did you always think that, you know what, I'm confident, I have the experience, I know I can do this?
In the early days, I struggled with imposter syndrome quite badly, and I did doubt myself an awful lot, to the point that I kept the security blanket of a part-time job just to make sure my mortgage was paid. And it took me a long time to get past that. Even though I was having inquiries, I was having clients sign up, and I was starting to make money, I still didn't really feel that it was real. And I think it was only really since COVID hit, actually, and I kept the clients that I had, and I took on a couple of extra clients, that I thought, wow, even in the middle of a global pandemic, I'm still going with this. Like, I am definitely one of the lucky ones. And I think that's what really hit me when I'd succeeded by that point. Like, it doesn't matter what's in my bank account, doesn't matter what's going on there. For me, that I'd succeeded because I was still going. So
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people have to look at, right? Like, they view success as, you know what, I have six figures coming into my bank account. Whereas, like, no, you've done something a lot of businesses haven't done, that you were able to sustain your client base, sustain your asset base, sustain your company. Do you feel that sometimes we confuse the two, versus saying that, you know what, success means I'm rich, versus it just being me being successful, meaning that I have a brand and it's a well established brand with a good reputation?
yeah, I definitely think success is a completely misunderstood term, because success for everybody is very different. You know, success for some people is just making it through the week. And you know what? In these current times, that's okay. You know, you've survived another week. That's something to be proud of. Whereas, yeah, for other people, they don't feel like they're successful till they've hit the 2 comma club. And you just think, like, for me personally, if that's the only thing you're focusing on, you're missing out on so much life has to give. Like, there is so much more to life than zeros in your bank account. And if I can convince one person of that in my lifetime, then I feel like I've succeeded. Because yeah, money is not everything. And you look at what people can achieve with nothing and just think, like, that's something to be proud of. And money doesn't mean anything. It's nice to have, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have, we all want it, and it pays for nice trips and everything else, but that won't be my marker for success.